I sent a voicemail to my dead sister. Today she called back out of the blue. 3 years ago, my sister had grown a fondness for rock climbing and hiking. Little did I know it would ruin her life forever, but not in the way you might think. One day in June, she decided she would take a hike up a somewhat far but still near mountain trail. Due to how far it was from home and me not being into rock climbing as much as her, I declined her offer to go together. To this day, I regret doing so. Maybe I could have saved her. I worried for her going on the trail alone. She's only a year younger than me, but I still treat her like a little sister, always looking out for her. Despite my complaining, she refused. So we were forced to say our goodbyes and she was off, not knowing this might be the last time I'd ever see her. Before she left, I made sure her phone was at 100% charge, so if she was in trouble, she could contact me. I decided not to bug her anymore despite my worries because she's doing what she loves, plus she's kind of like a professional at it. She'll be fine. Before I knew it, days had passed. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months, and months turned to years. 3 years. I haven't seen her for 3 years. I sent an endless amount of texts asking about where the hell she was, if she was okay, what the hell happened. You get the point. Not a single reply. I never got her to tell me the place she went because I'll be back before you know it, as she always said. I knew I should have made her tell me. That was until yesterday. At 4:19 a.m. I woke up to an endless stream of the sound of notifications on my phone. They poured in like crazy. I sat up in bed to take a look at the damn annoying noise. 15 missed calls have been sent to voicemail. I was confused as hell because it's 4 in the effing morning. My confusion soon turned to shock and worry when I glanced at who the sender was. Amy. It was the nickname I gave to my sister years ago because of her name, Amelia. I had just received 15 voicemails from my sister who had been missing for 3 years. I was in disbelief. Hope filled my veins as I thought there's hope she's still alive. Until I checked the time. All the voicemails were recorded on the day she went missing. I didn't understand why I'd only just received them 3 years later, as if the phone had just gotten connection and sent the voicemails extremely late. I started listening to her voicemails and found myself in tears of horror and sorrow. The first few voicemails were completely fine. She explained how she made it to the trail, heard owls hooting outside her tent at night, and slept well. But on the 4th voicemail, something started to go wrong. My heart sunk when I started listening. Voicemail number 4. Well, I found myself in a bit of a predicament. The trail seems to be unfinished, so I'm not sure where to go. I hope you're doing okay. Why aren't you answering your phone, by the way? At least leave me a voicemail or text me or something. I miss you, and I'm kind of starting to get homesick, so yeah. Call sometime? Good night. End of message. This one brought me to watery eyes because of how sad she sounded at the last part. I wish I could just talk to her again or let her know I'm sorry. Each voicemail was hurting more and more as I heard her voice again. I pressed on the next one. Voicemail number 5. Why aren't you answering your phone? Oh, you know I hate when you do this. Anyway, I'm starting to think I might not be alone here. I went to sleep as normal, putting my phone under my pillow as I always do. But to my dismay, I woke up that following morning to have found it gone. For the following 2 days, I ran around like a madwoman looking for it. I found it just now on a tree branch, perfectly perched up with its camera facing the camp from a distance. I'm actually kind of scared, but it could have easily been a curious squirrel or so. After this one, I knew that whatever took her phone wasn't her squirrel. I felt so bad. If only I had seen the voicemails earlier. She was probably so worried, up there all alone with no one to comfort her. But the next voicemail is when everything got really effed up. As soon as I started playing it, she immediately sounded panicked, out of breath. Voicemail number 8. Carter, I saw it. I saw what took my phone. It was definitely not any animal I've ever seen. It was weird, small, and human-like. Yet, not human. I purposely kept my phone near the tent entrance and lay there awake. Around 5 in the morning, I saw one of the tent flaps open a little and in peeked this weird, somewhat shriveled arm. Then a shoulder and eventually the entire body and head. It grabbed my phone and looked at me. I was staring at it wide-eyed, unable to make a sound. Its eyes were sunken and almost colorless. Its eyes, almost as if its glare at me caused me to remain motionless until I fell asleep. I'm sorry, Carter, I should have listened to you. End of message. I was left in confused horror. This was so much worse than I could have ever imagined. Had she just gone insane? Was there really some human animal after her? There was one more voicemail. Tears were streaming down my face as I pressed the final one, voicemail number 9. Carter, I don't know if I'm going to make it home. I was running and something jumped out at me and I don't know where I am, Carter. I really miss you. I'm scared. It's dark. I hope you're okay. There's hundreds of these things. I don't know why they haven't murdered me yet. They must need me for something. Don't forget about me if I don't make it home. I don't want to die a painful death. I'm finally at 1% on my phone. I conserved it only for when I spoke with you. Or at least tried to. I don't know why you never answered me. I missed you a whole lot. I still do. It's painful to think that you could be at home either worrying about me or not. Both thoughts hurt me. Never forget, Mitch. End of message. The audio abruptly cut off. She never once has hung up or left a call or voicemail unfinished. I knew what this meant. Her phone died. I dreaded the thought. I knew it was true and I hated it. There was no way I could just sit around waiting. I had to find her. I was going to get my effing sister back or die trying. She was the closest to me anyone has ever been and she's been through everything with me. I called my friend and explained. He wouldn't believe me, but he agreed to come with me anyway, along with his brother. They were both a lot bigger and athletic than me. His brother especially was an overall alpha Chad. If I was to be safe with anyone, it would be him. Or so I thought. We picked up some guns from his house before we left and set off. We set off with all our gear at the ready. We knew it was going to take multiple days to reach her, but we were fast walkers. Eventually, after just a few days, we found ourselves at a dead end. I saw the pathway she explained before she left, and I saw 2 arched trees. It was at the end of a trail, liked, she'd described. Everything behind it seemed so untouched by humanity. And after just a few minutes of walking in there, we arrived to an abandoned tent. The exact same color, brand, and design as Amelia's. I was in the middle of almost having a breakdown and having to have Diego and Clyde calm me down when nearby I heard a noise. A noise I dreaded. A noise I can only describe as a click. In a split moment, I lost any will to stay on the ground and cry. I bolted up and looked in the general direction of the sound. I'm guessing Clyde and Diego heard it as well because they turned in the same direction. There it stood, one of them. Exactly as Amelia had explained. Small, frail, smells of decay, looks like decaying flesh and colorless eyes. I have no idea why, but I took a step forward. It's somewhat human-looking. Ears jerked a little in response to my somewhat silent step. In the background, Diego was whisper yelling at me to come the hell back. Clyde had the M14 drawn and ready to shoot if that thing tried anything at all. I glared at it directly in its stupid, sunken, colorless eyes and took another step forward. The next moment happened in a flash. It lunged at me. Clyde took a shot. Diego stumbled, I stumbled, the creature fell back. Clyde had got it in the stomach. It was down but wasn't dead yet. Diego was freaking out because he realized everything I told him was true. I don't even know if these creatures have pupils in those clouded gray eyes, but I knew it was looking at me. While Clyde was getting Diego to calm down, I grabbed at the thing's neck. It struggled. I threw the little thing onto the ground and stamped on it. I stood up and casually threw out a, "All right then, let's keep going," and started walking. We kept walking. Eventually, we all approached the mountainside. It was still dark as hell, but I suppose we made it faster here than Amy did because not only did we not take breaks to sleep, we sort of speed walked. We were close to wherever they were holding her. I could tell because there were a few more of these weird gremlin zombie things acting like guards. They were hostile upon seeing us. Something told me that it was because they could sense I absolutely decimated one of their kind. This is where it all went downhill. We entered no man's land without realizing it. They surrounded us. I wish we had some sort of machine gun or something to have sprayed these guys with bullets. They all charged at once, so did we. I don't remember who fired the first shot, but some of them started dying, but there were too many still alive for celebration. It's hard to recall since everything was such a blur, but it must have been about an hour of tactically dodging and hiding between trees and attacking them. We must have fought off at least 30 of them. I was dizzy, not only from the horrid smell of decaying flesh, the wounds I received, and the metallic smell of blood, but also my arms hurt like a bitch, from not being able to handle a gun very well. As I struggled to get up from falling over, I look up to see Diego hunched over Clyde, who was laying on the ground. I got up and went over to see what had happened. Those things got him good. Clyde had a massive slash mark across his throat. Not sure when or how they got up there, considering he's not that short, but they did it. Diego was in tears, regretting ever bringing him here. Sat with Diego for a moment of silence. We both struggled, but managed to bury Clyde and decided to leave the M14 sticking out of the ground and Clyde's watch around the barrel as some sort of makeshift gravestone. Diego and I eventually approached the cave. The sun was out already. I took out the flashlight I brought along from Amy's room and illuminated the pitch blackness of the cavern. The zombie gremlins, or whatever the F you want to call them, had built a cage out of sticks and barbed wire from God knows where. In the cage was a girl hunched over in the dark. Next to the cage was one more of those things. They had seemed to retreat, seeing us unalive dozens of their kind. Everything else was kind of a blur, but I found myself in the car with Diego driving and the girl from the cave in the back seat. There she was, Amelia, my beloved sister who went missing for 3 years. But something was off. She wasn't herself. She was silent and distant. She always seemed to be staring off. Eventually we got home and I got Amy cleaned up. She never said a word, just stared straight ahead with a distant stare of shattered life. It's been a couple days now, like 2 or 3 I think. I started working at the gas station in honor of Clyde. He was a respectable man who lived a respectable life. Nothing much has happened. Amelia is still completely silent. I've only ever seen her do something other than stare when she's next to the window at night. And that's that. She presses her hand on the glass and stares at the moon. I don't know what the hell they did to her. I miss her. She's not the same. She's lost. That's not Amy anymore. She's just Amelia to me now. I want the original back.